The most news in the morning. CNN's American Morning. Weekday, 6 a.m. Eastern.
There have been some women who have become jihadists in the past, but I think that the fact of the way she went about her business, going on the internet, blatantly calling attention to herself, there's no indication that Al-Qaeda Central, or whether it be Al-Qaeda in Yemen or other main Al-Qaeda groups, actually recruited her. It looked like she was trying to send out messages to whom it may concern, I'm available for jihad.
Wow. I mean, and Karen, in your experience, as Tom was saying, there have been other women who have been involved in terrorist conspiracies here in the United States. But does she represent something brand new? Does she represent a new threat that now law enforcement has to deal with?
Maybe. I mean, what it is an indicator that there's always something else coming down the road that might be a threat to us. But as a large category that we have to worry about, absolutely not, I would say. We should always have been aware that women could be used. We've seen maybe 3 or 4 women come across our terrorism trials in the United States. There's one case now in Belgium where there's a woman who's rather a high-profile woman who's been associated with terrorism for a long time. But we haven't seen a large number of women, no.
Right. Tom, do we know anything about how she came to her radical views? We know something about her background. She's from Texas. She was apparently, according to the indictment, involved in some minor crimes, but nothing that would lead you to believe that she would suddenly start reaching out to jihadists around the world, offering her services.
Right. There's no clue what caused her to become that way or to advertise herself as being available. And I agree completely with Karen. I think this is an anomaly. I don't think it's any great trend. If you look at the vast majority of terrorists, they have been young males, and that's true actually with violent crime in general. The profile of most violent criminals is young male, and they either grow out of it or change their mind. But the women in the past have been either followers or supporters, lending material support, not trying to take on a leadership position as she was trying to do by her email messages.
You know, Karen, according, though, to some reports in which neighbors of hers were interviewed, there were some signs that maybe not everything was right. Some neighbors said that she talked to her cats all the time, that they knew her as that, quote, crazy lady. You know, there are some, inevitably, when you take a look at something like this, like the Major Nadal Hassan, there are dots that can be connected, but can you connect those dots to terrorism? And do law enforcement officials need to start being aware of that even though you've got someone who from just the physical description looks almost identical to you, blonde hair, you've got brown eyes, she had blue eyes apparently, but they have to start looking at these things in a different way.
Well, actually, I think law enforcement did a good job on this one. If you think about it, the internet has been creeping up as a way to recruit, either being reached out to or reaching out to something as she did. But the FBI was on top of this. They were monitoring it. And I think it tells you that, yes, there are a number of people who are unstable in some way, and we're seeing many of them are eventually become associated with crime and many with terrorism. But you can't assume that everybody who's unstable is going to go that way. Instead, you have to monitor the actual behavior, and that's what the internet is.
Right. You know, Tom, Karen says that the FBI did a good job here, and certainly she has been arrested, but she also posted a comment on YouTube. She was out there on the internet in a fairly overt way, offering her services, trying to recruit people. If somebody like her was determined to fly below the radar, what kind of a challenge does that pose to law enforcement? And does law enforcement in this country need to, as a result of this, start to rethink the way that they pursue potential terrorists?
Well, John, there's only so much rethinking you can do. If the FBI starts looking at people who talk to their cats, there won't be enough agents. If they have 100,000 agents, they won't be able to track that. So, there has to be a reasonable level of dot collection, if you will, in cases like this. Once those cartoons were published, in this case, the cartoons in Sweden were published almost 2 years ago, June 2007, and then later jihadi websites were offering up to $150,000 rewards if individuals would go to Sweden and kill the cartoonist, and offered even more money if they slaughtered him like a lamb, to quote some of the jihadi websites. That brought a lot of people out of the woodwork who may normally have not risen to the level of violence. And I'm not saying she was motivated by money. She could just be unstable, and her neighbors might be right. But you just don't know. And there's so many indications in hindsight when we look at people who have done something violent or attempted to do something violent, as in her case, of what level you're going to have. And of course, the Irish authorities, the Garda, just arrested 7 people in connection with a similar related plot to go to Sweden and kill that cartoonist. So a lot of individuals around the world came to the attention of law enforcement in a number of countries. The Headley case out of Chicago, it's not related to this one. At first, Headley intended to go to Copenhagen and kill people and a newspaper editor for the cartoons there. So these cartoons that have created so much ire in the Muslim world, unfortunately, the fringes of that have decided to try to kill the people responsible.
Seems every day a new challenge for law enforcement. Tom Fuentes, Karen Greenberg, great to see you this morning. Thanks for coming in.